What's up everybody? We're chilling in my garage this weekend, as you can see by my apparel and the flip-flops that probably aren't in the camera shot. But with the car wash cranking out the cars this weekend, I don't want to be doing projects out there, having to shut down bays or anything. So the project is in my garage. It's this old Hamilton bill changer that we're going to do a rebuild on. I've already started stripping it down. But as you can see from the picture that I'm going to put up on the screen right here, it had seen better days. It's a little bit worn out, and even the picture right here of it, the insides, the guts of it, it was just getting old. So it's time for a facelift on this thing, and here's that facelift right here. It's going to have a nice, fresh new decal, and it's going to be modified slightly different than probably any bill changer you've ever seen. We're going to be doing something really cool. So let's check this out and get into the project. The reason I say this is going to be a unique rebuild project is because these old Hamiltons have these swipe-only credit card readers that are just these archaic blocks basically. And we're going to modernize it with none other than the Nayax Card Readers. I have these on all my car wash equipment. I'm keeping everything within the same ecosystem, and we've got it figured out where we're gonna program one of these to be on there, and I'm gonna do something with the Nayax Reader that I haven't done before, and it's doing multi-price selection. So the customer can come up to this change machine and select how much tokens they want dispensed and charged for on their card. And I may do like a 5, 10, 20, and then a super high value, super discounted item if they're spending like, it might be like $50 or something. So it'll give them 50 tokens. I think that'll be something really cool to try out and see how often we actually get that selected. So that's something we're gonna be programming here once it's all mounted up. All right, so when I started taking this apart, I honestly didn't know if I was gonna be putting it back together. I was undecided whether I was going to go out and spend the money to do this rebuild. I didn't know really what it was going to cost, or if I could actually program it for that Nayax reader, etc., etc. So I kind of just took everything out of the unit and put it in here in storage. And here's some of the carnage that we came up with: just faceplates, the old screen, that display screen that read messages out. Here's a cover for one of the hoppers. We'll get to this actually later. I do have a new part for a hopper that was broke. Oh, this was the real issue. I mean, it had this old validator in it that really wasn't accepting anymore. I mean, this thing's probably 10 pounds alone right here. It's a big chunk of metal. And that's another major upgrade we're gonna be doing. I'll get it for you real quick. We're swapping it out to this MEI validator, which is going to be a lot more reliable. It's what I have in my change machine out in my car wash right now. So we're going to be doing that. And I mean, the rest of this is just out of service lights and all the old wiring harnesses and stuff. And so we're going to be going back, but it's going to be looking a lot cleaner inside the cabinet once we get done, and you'll be seeing that here shortly. Now, before I start mounting stuff on this bill changer, I want to get it cleaned up, looking like brand new again. And you can see the old outline of the decal on the facelift here. And I believe that even before that, there was another decal that went like full length of this, because there's a faint line down the side right here and around that you can still see. So I went through my cabinet and I got a whole slew of projects that I'm gonna try. But mainly, this is going to be doing the work for me. You can get just like a headlight restoration kit that has these attachments in it. And I'm going to be putting different types of cutting compounds, polishes on it. I don't know, you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you think will work best? This Barkeeper's Friend says works great on stainless steel. So I'm going to be just try a whole bunch of things, see what works best. Get this super shiny, and then I even have some still wool right here. So once that gets done, we'll look at how we're gonna mount this up and everything. quick, I'll go over what I've bought for this upgrade and how much I spent. Obviously, we got a new decal, new mounting screws for that decal that go in these little rivet points right here. Some out of service lights with the little washers that attach those. The validator that I showed you earlier, this is a rebuilt validator, it's not brand new. I figured it's going in a used machine so we could stick with used. This is a brake arm for one of the hoppers that was broken on this machine. I have a wiring harness that's going to attach that validator to the controller. I have a remote that I can reprogram the controller with, and I had to send in my controller to a distributor to have it reprogrammed for the new card reader. These card readers are about $400, the Nayax ones are, and everything that I bought here, as well as the reprogramming services and everything, are going to run you about $1,300 to $1,500. You just need to check with the distributor for that. That brings me to another point. I need to thank Randy for helping me out with all this stuff and guiding me through this rebuild. Back to the face over here and what worked best to get this all cleaned up. You saw me use all those different products, but ultimately what worked best was the old school barkeeper's friend, and I used some denatured alcohol to get some of that adhesive off that you saw at the very start. So really just stick with the tried and true denatured alcohol, barkeeper's friend, and then I use this again to get it cleaned up near the end. This faceplate is actually built for a build changer with dual validators, but the mounting holes all mount up. So we're gonna have our one validator here, and then the Nayax Card Reader over the second slot over here. And the other modification we're gonna have to make is this out of service light. The old one being up here, the new one is gonna be right here, and that's just gonna be a little bit tricky because the drill bit's not gonna wanna go straight through having this little slot on the bottom. So I may have to figure that out with a Dremel tool or something, but that's the stage that we're at right now. The out of service light is a 1/2 inch drill bit, and then the mounting holes are a 3/16 inch drill bit, including the holes you'll need to drill for the Nayax Card Reader. And then just make sure you got plenty of cutting oil to help yourself along, and we're ready to go. The right drill bit and good lubrication gives you awesome little spirals like that. So that's awesome. But on this faceplate here, our Nayax reader goes on these 4 holes here, and these were gonna be exposed. So the holes are there on the decal, but not on the stainless steel cabinet behind. So I ended up drilling those out as well, so I can put little rivets in there as well, just to give it a more finished look. And then behind here is actually a big old hole. So I'm gonna make a little drop-in bracket that's gonna hold those top screws on the card reader to each side right here. On the out of service light, I wish I wouldn't have used a pilot bit because I ended up not having the metal to kind of guide me through, if that makes sense. But I was worried if I used that big bit right off the start, I would get twisted in there and break the bit off. So I don't know if I did it right or not, but ultimately I'm gonna have to go get a Dremel tool or something and kind of round out that oval. I'm about halfway through with the big bit, but then it just wouldn't stay guided through, and so that's what we're gonna do there. But for now, let's get this thing turned around and get started inside the cabinet. Check out our old decal. It was hiding inside this cabinet. It's all yellow, nasty. You can see it used to be nice and white where these bezels were covering it up and not letting the sun get to it, but that's ready to go in the trash now. These hoppers right here, you can unplug them on the bottom right here, pull them out like this. We're just gonna lift them out, set them to the side. So you've still got a lot of wiring harnesses in here. This is the one that has a broken arm on the back right here. It's this guy right here, it's that arm. So we'll get to that in detail on replacing those. From what I know reading online, I'm not the only one who's had a broken brake arm on the hopper, and so it would be good to know if you're gonna own one of these machines, how to replace that and basically what is happening when you run into that issue. So we're gonna get that apart. Then we're just gonna work on this side of the validator for now. You may have not been able to tell in that time lapse right there, but these are flange nuts, which really make it convenient to be able to use a long extension, set it in the socket, and slide back here, because there's not a lot of room to work with against the wall of this cabinet. So now down lower here, we are gonna put in a wiring harness that's gonna slide in on these two studs just right like that, and then this will pop up and plug into the side of this validator. And the socket that we'll use for that is a 10mm on these two studs right there. Now for the cool part, we're gonna get the card reader mounted up, but I spent a little bit of extra time last night getting that all finalized, and the faceplate really looks awesome. So I want to take you around to the front side now. Look at this. Check that out. Super sleek. Tilt the camera up a little bit. Super sleek, very nice design. These faceplates, they're a little bit expensive, but they come with this protective material over them and shipping, and once you get them on, I mean, I'm really impressed with it. It's really thick and it's gonna look awesome with this card reader mounted up there. And then I've got those little rivets on the other side, but one thing you can also do is you can get these outdoor face cover panels, little protective cases that these go inside, and you could also mount that entire thing up there on like that, and it would actually cover these little wider holes. So another option you can go with, but I'm just gonna mount it straight up with this outside. That way the cover on this isn't obstructing anything. So we're gonna pop that right in there and get it all situated and wired in. The screws that come with these readers are a little bit short to go through there, so you may have to pick up some M4 by 0.7 mm threads, and then I got length 16mm to go through and mount these up. But if you were to use that protective case as well, you need to get even longer, like 20-25mm length in order to run the full distance of this. Here's my little bracket that I've made, by the way, so that I have some meat that it'll grab on these two upper screws that didn't come in line with the stainless steel. The last thing to go in here is this little controller that basically just slaps right there and then slides onto there. And it's got a unique little nut that just screws in with a flathead screwdriver, and that goes right there. but it seems like we should have more stuff we're putting in here because you can see everything that's come out so far and all the studs that are missing items, but that's all we have to go back in. So it's gonna be a much cleaner, simpler look inside of here once this is all done. Now that everything is mounted up, we're just gonna get the validator side of this machine running. And so you're gonna identify which controller runs your validator. On my machine, it's the top one here. And coming off that harness is a 9-pin plug. That's gonna plug into the harness that you hooked up and then mounted from your validator. There's only one way that that plug can go in, so don't worry about getting it wrong or anything. And then on your power supply for that, you're gonna have another 6-pin plug that only has 4 prongs inside of it. You're gonna plug that onto the front of the power supply. Coming out of here, there's a harness plug that has a brown and orange wire. I don't have that plugged into anything, but the black and purple one is what goes up to the out of service light. We are ready for a hopper full of quarters. You can hear that. Plug it in to the side that has the validator on it. Okay, now I just need to turn on the power. I've got it plugged in and I'm just gonna flip the on switch on the power supply and you're gonna see the controller come on. If it throws an error right away, you can hear the validator running now. If it throws an error right away, push the white button on the front to clear it and see if it resets. Once you get that solid green and solid red light, you're in business. We can come around here and give it the test. Dollar bill. Let's see what we get. That's right. We're golden. All right, now it's time to jump to the other side of the machine, which is the credit card side, and the most exciting part to me about this whole project. Definitely the most unique. You very rarely see this type of setup. I've only seen a couple Nayax readers installed on token machines before, and there's definitely very limited information online about how to do it or what your options are. And so I'm actually gonna make a separate part to this video, which is gonna be talking about doing the multi-price selection on the Nayax reader, just because that dives into more of like settings. I need to sit down in front of my computer and show you guys exactly where everything is and how to dial that in. But for now, let's get behind this machine and do the wiring and show you how that's done for Hamilton specifically. All right, so in the back here off this 110 outlet, I've bought this transformer that's just a big old plug-in block. That's a AC adapter. It says input 120 volts, output 24 volts. And I've taken the yellow cable I should say, which comes off the Nayax device. And this is the same with if you're putting it on a meter box or whatever. You take both blacks and you take both reds, and that's your positive and your negative terminals. And then I've taken gray, which is labeled, there's a lot of labels on here. Gray is labeled GND for ground, and brown is labeled also GND for ground. Taking both those and put them under the ground terminal on this transformer. You can do any type of 24 volt transformer, but this seemed the most compact because I just have to plug it in. I don't have to mount it up inside the box anywhere. So that goes on there. And then the next thing we're gonna get into is where to put your pulse wire. All the rest of these wires, I'm gonna do just what I've done on my meter boxes, which is tuck them away, but I'm gonna hold on to this darker green Pulse 1 wire. That's what's gonna send the coin signals to your controller here. This right here is the key step to get the Nayax Card Reader to communicate with your controller here on the left side. And you're just gonna be taking 2 wires, one off the yellow cable and one off this harness that's coming from your controller. So follow that down, find this 9-pin plug, and find this white wire off the back side. It's white with a blue stripe. There's another blue wire on here, but you want the white one with the blue tracer wire. And you can use like a pair of needle nose or something to push that wire through the plug and stick it out. And that's what's gonna connect to your Pulse 1 green wire off the yellow cable. You can see here, I've just taken electrical tape and taped back all the extra wires that were on this cable so that they're out of the way and not to be confused with. And these are the two cables that are gonna go together. That's all you're gonna need. The rest of the cables on the harness side can be left alone. The rest of the cables on the Nayax side can be left alone. The way I'm gonna make the connection is with these terminal plugs. I got a male plug for one side, a female for the other. This is insulated, so it's not gonna brush up against any wire. And I got one of my favorite tools. I use it all the time in the car wash. These Klein Crimpers that you just put the terminal in like that and crimp it down and get a really solid connection. So here is the moment of truth. We're all hooked up inside the machine, and now I'm gonna turn it on, give it power. Do make sure that the power is unplugged while you're doing that wiring. You could ruin your units, your Nayax device, if you're trying to do this with power on. You definitely don't wanna do that. Also, the out of service light is very fidgety as well. It actually has 110 volt power going to it. Make sure you have the terminals unplugged and taped off while you're working on anything, especially as you turn on power. If it's touching the frame or anything, you're gonna short out that circuit. Believe me, I've learned from experience. So while this is firing up, I'm gonna go through the settings that I have for my token machine. I'm gonna do multi-price selection, and you can do a lot of different options with that, but I'm gonna do 4 selections. I'm gonna try and keep it simple. So there's gonna be 4 boxes. In fact, it's already fired up. The 4 boxes are gonna be $5, $10, $15, and $20. Just keeping it in even increments. I figure my current car wash average ticket is about $7 or $8. And so I'm trying to sway people either to the top tier, either a little bit higher than that, or the cheap people that still want a low price point. I left them with $5, and I figure those type of people are gonna be spending the money regardless. I'm not gonna provide a discount at that low of rate. But once you get up to $15, I'm gonna give 1 bonus token. So you can see here, it reads 16 token for that selection. And if you wanna go as high as $20, I'm gonna give 2 bonus tokens. So these bottom 2 selections get those bonus tokens. Also, you may or may not have noticed, in between video clips and stuff, I threw on this bezel. I found out that this bezel actually didn't need to be used. I cut it up and used it as the bracket to mount this, but then I went on eBay and I think it was like 15 bucks. I got a new one that's actually flush mount, and now there was some decals, stickers, whatever. They're not stickers because they don't actually stick, but they sit inside these bolts right there, and it says 1, 5, 10, and 20, just to basically clarify what type of bills you can put in the machine on the Validator side. But the real test now is going ahead and vending some tokens out of here. So check this out. I have these car wash tokens loaded into the machine behind us in the hopper. So now we're ready to go on the device and make a selection. We're gonna go $5. And on this orange key fob on my key ring, I just have preloaded credits inside Nayax. This would work though the same with Apple Pay, Chip, Tap, however they want to pay. When it says machine processing, it's sending those pulses, and then it's gonna go thank you. Down here, it's gonna vend out the tokens. So we got 5, just like we asked for. But we could also go up on the machine here and say a lot of your customers are just gonna go make a payment without selecting anything. So it'll also walk them through taking the payment first and then ask them to select something. So let's do a bonus token this time. When you do higher increment ones, it does take a little bit longer in this screen for those pulses to go through. But just like before, as soon as it says thank you, you look down and then it gives you those tokens. And Believe me, you can trust me. I've done this like 100 times just to verify that it's counting right and everything. But that is $16 value tokens right there. And with that, it's a wrap on this token machine, retrofit, update kit, whatever you want to call it. It took quite a bit of research to figure out how to get all this done, so I'd appreciate it if you guys liked the video. With that said, I have a special announcement on how I'm going to be putting this machine to use. So stay tuned for that and subscribe to the channel. Down in the comments below, I want to know how you guys would set up your options on this multi-price selection for the screen. Would you give more options? Would you give more bonus tokens? Would you not give bonus tokens at all and just keep it dollar for dollar on the token exchange there? So guys, I appreciate it. If you got any more questions, that's something I didn't clarify in here, leave a comment below. Maybe I can just make another video on how that's done, or any other things relating to this Hamilton token machine. See ya.